I'm sorry. I just want to start. You let me know. Hi everyone, thank you for joining us tonight for money management, and we are going to talk about credit scores tonight. We have the wonderful Joy Jefferson, and she is with Operation Hope, and she works with Capital Bank. So she's going to walk us through. You should all have received this book, and that is what Joy is going to use when she's talking with you. And she might reference pages, but just know that's what you're going to be working with. Thank you so much for joining Chatham Literacy and Operation Hope, and I'm going to hand it over to Joy.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Joy Jefferson. I am with Operation Hope. We will be discussing credit today. What I want to start off with is telling a story as far as how I learned about credit. I learned about credit in a negative way when I first went to North Carolina A&T. My parents really didn't have the discussion about credit or money management to me. My brothers just told me, don't get credit cards. Unfortunately, I went out, saw vendors on campus, and I ended up signing up for a free t-shirt and a calling card, and ended up with 7 charged off credit cards. Yes, I ended up with 7 charged off credit cards. The good thing is I learned from those mistakes as far as getting cards, what it did as far as my credit, how it affected me, and even working with a collection agency, I was able to learn about collections, 30-day, 60-day, 90-day, and charged off status. So that's just a little bit about me and my credit story. A lot of us have life situations where credit wasn't explained to us, as well as credit may have been explained to us, but life situations just happen. So we fell into a situation where we had to either learn from it, or we will be learning from it, in the next few months. If you need help, you could definitely see me at Operation Hope, and I will be able to work with you as far as a work plan to get you out of that situation. So when we start off, I'm just going to reference page 2 as far as why credit is important, or as far as the credit workshop. Credit is very important because it basically impacts our life. A credit lender will check your credit report based on the score, and that way they'll know if you're a risk to their company, if they loan you money or not. Also, an employer can check your credit score in order to approve you for a job, as well as car insurance. Most people don't think car insurance may have an effect as far as your credit, but it really does. They will check your score, and it may give you a higher rate due to your credit score. I want to start off by giving the quote by John Hope Bryant, which is the CEO of Operation Hope. There is a difference between being broke and being poor. Being broke is a temporary economic condition, but being poor is a disabled frame of mind and a depressed condition of your spirit, and you must never vow to be poor again. We discussed budgeting in our last class, so I just want to just kind of briefly discuss budget just for a brief second, because budget is so important. Even when you talk about credit and establishing to the next level of paying debt, you still need that budget. It is very, very important to come up with the game plan to pay your debt by doing that budget. So you can go and skip with me to page 7, the type of credit cards, or the type of cards. The type of cards is a credit card, debit card, ATM card, prepaid cards, but we're going to focus on the credit card. With the credit cards come with so many fees. So you just got to be aware of the fees when it comes to the credit card. There's over limit fees, annual fees, cash advance fees, balance transfer fees, exceeding limit fees, late payment and overpayment on your credit card. Sometimes a annual percentage rate on a credit card will be up to 19%. Some may be higher based on your credit score. So you just want to be mindful and make sure that you ask the questions whenever you're applying for a credit card or even your current credit card. Is this the right card for me based on the interest rate that the credit agency or the business is trying to give you as far as that rate? And if you have any questions, you can hold them off until the end of the conversation, or I'm sorry, you could email them to, just type them into the live chat and we will be able to answer them at the end of the workshop. Credit report. Like I said, credit is my favorite topic to talk about because with me just being involved in credit, and I just want to emphasize to people who did not get the financial literacy from their past to definitely make sure that you ask questions when it comes to your credit report and check your score annually. You do have an opportunity to get a free annual credit report every year from each credit agency, Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian. So just be mindful that you do have the ability to do that, or once again, you can work with Operation Hope to get that information. When it comes to credit report, we want to always get a copy of your credit report, and you want to check all the information as far as you want to check your name, you want to check any type of information as far as credit accounts, loan balances, anything dealing with your credit report, no matter if it's negative, you want to make sure that the information is accurate. And like I mentioned, the 3 credit bureaus, Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian. You can also, a lot of people have the ability to use Credit Karma as well, and Credit Karma provides Equifax and TransUnion. And it's good for the information. I always tell people it's very good to use Credit Karma for the information. However, the credit score may vary because they use the Vintage score versus FICO 8. And most lenders, whenever they check your credit report, they use FICO 8 to approve you for the loan. We want to go ahead and go to page 10 and 11. What makes up your credit score? Your credit score is made up by your payment history. Your payment history is 35%. Payment history is very important because you have to make sure that you pay your credit cards on time every month. That is the most and biggest part of your credit score. If you don't pay or if you're late, at least try to communicate with your lender and maybe they might make some adjustments. But if you do not make the payment on your credit card on time, it will affect your score. The next portion is the amount owed. The amount owed is 30% of your credit score. The amount owed is if your credit line is $1,000, the credit reporting agency really only wants you to pay, or I'm sorry, they really want you to spend 30% of that line of credit. Keeps you in the best rating when it comes to your credit report. So if your credit line is $1,000, you want to just make sure that you keep it under 300 would give you the best rate as far as reporting to your credit report each and every month. If you go 50%, it could affect your points when it comes to your credit score. They don't want to see a person who spends all the way up to their highest credit line and then pay it off every month because, like I said, that will affect your score. The length of history is 15%. They want to see, is this person opening and closing credit cards, or is this person a long-lasting customer with their creditor? So normally it's about 7 years is a good average as far as how long you should have your credit card. But you just want to build that relationship with your creditor. Like I said, any type of situation, you want to make sure that you communicate with your creditor, because your creditor also has the ability to close the account just as well as you having the ability to close your account. So even if it's a card that you don't use that often, you want to make sure that maybe you use it every now and then, because they have the ability, if they don't see you utilizing that card, they have the ability to close that account, which will affect your length of history. New credit. Any type of new credit on your credit card will affect you as far as 10%. So if you go out and purchase a new car, or if you get a new credit card, that affects the length of history because it's something new you're applying to that particular credit card, and therefore they'll take an average. So if you had a card for 10 years and you just applied for a new card, then your average is now 5 years as far as your length of history. And then type of credit used. The type of credit, the credit agency wants to see a variety of credit. So they want to see a person with credit cards, which is revolving credit. And then installment credit would be your personal loans, your student loans, your auto loans. And then of course your mortgage would be another type of credit. And that would be 10% as far as on your how your credit score is made up. We're going to go ahead and go to page 14, talking about inquiries. Just like I explained as far as new credit, how it affects your score by 10%, any type of inquiry on your credit report will affect your score as well. So if you were like me, being that college kid fresh on campus, and applying to get these phone cards and t-shirts, I was negatively affecting my score because anytime that I would apply for a new card, it would put a hard hit on my credit report. So I was getting approved, each and every time that I would apply, it was getting a hard hit. There's some people who may get denied for something, and so therefore they will say, you know what, I will go to the next place and I'm sure that they'll approve me. And next thing you know, they might get denied for that and they'll keep applying, but each and every time they are getting a hard hit on their credit report. So the best thing to do is find out what's on your credit report. And once you find out what's on your credit report, then you can figure out even beforehand, before you go to a lender, where your status is when it comes to getting approved or denied on any type of credit. Also, any type of negative items reporting to your credit, which is page 15, it could be charge-off, collections, judgment, tax liens, Chapter 7, 11, 12, and Chapter 13. Most items when it comes to negative items being reported to your credit report is 7 years. Any Chapter 7, 11, and 12 is going to stay on your credit report for 10 years. So you just want to be mindful when you start getting collection items. When it comes to hospital bills, they will report to your credit 6 months after you have been released, or once you have the ability to, they send that first bill to you. You have 6 months to work out some type of payment arrangement with the hospital. If at that time you were not able to work out any type of payment arrangement, they are able to put any type of collection items on your credit report at the 6-month time frame, and that will stay on your credit for 7 years, unless you settle the account or you pay the account in full. And then your credit report will be updated with that information saying that you paid it in full or you settled the account. Page 16 and 17 shows you a example of a TransUnion credit report. So with Operation Hope, we will go line by line with you explaining different things on your credit report, and therefore you have the information and you know what you're looking at. So at that time, you can also be empowered to tell someone else, teach a family member as far as this is what's on your credit report and how you can fix it versus just someone else doing it for you or paying a credit collection agency to try to fix it. Operation Hope is here to empower you so you could have the information to correct it yourself. Like I said, life happens. So in any type of situation, you want to be able to take the knowledge that we're giving you when it comes to your personal information and be able to provide that information to others or be able to use that information later on in life if a life situation happens again.
Can you discuss the three major credit bureaus?
Yes, the three major credit bureaus is Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian. Equifax is the most used on the East Coast when it comes to checking your credit report and your credit score. A lot of the times, Equifax tends to be the lowest score between the three. TransUnion is more so used on West Coast, but it's important whenever you're applying for something, you want to make sure that you ask the questions to a particular company. Which credit bureau will you be pulling from, and also which credit report will you be reporting to. So it's just different agencies may report some different information. For example, if you have a state employees credit union, with state employees, they report to Equifax only. So if you have been making great payments on a car payment, or if you have a credit card with State Employees Credit Union, they will report that information to Equifax, as well as whenever they pull your credit card to your information to get approved, then they will also pull from Equifax as well. And it's just different information when it comes to the credit reporting. You may see something on one credit report that you may not see on another credit report. That's why it's good to pull all three credit reports. Some people may pull all three at the same time within the year, or others may pull one in January, one in May, and then another one in November. Just so they can kind of keep track as far as what has been reported to their credit report. Great question.
Did you already talk about the difference between a soft inquiry and a hard inquiry?
A soft inquiry, that's another great question. A soft inquiry on your...
Repeat the question, in case they didn't hear me.
The question was the difference between a hard inquiry and a soft inquiry. A soft inquiry is when you work with you can actually get a soft inquiry when you are getting pre-approved. So you might be receiving information in the mail saying that you are getting pre-approved for...
There's where their questions appear.
Okay, thank you. You might see
She has to check.
that you are getting pre-approved for different credit card companies. They're doing a soft pull in your credit report. With any type of agency that is trying to help you as far as Operation Hope, we do a soft pull in your credit report. Whenever you go out and you're applying to get a loan, then that would be a hard hit on your credit report.
And one affects it, one doesn't.
Yes, and the hard hit will affect your credit report as far as the inquiry on your credit score.
But the soft does not.
The soft does not, no. Great questions.
Probably also important to mention that a good way to think of it is that the soft ones are usually not initiated by them, the person, the individual.
Right.
So it wouldn't make sense for it to hit them.
Well, fraud also can happen. So
That's true.
yeah. So even if it's not initiated by a person themselves, like if I did not apply to a particular credit card, if fraud happened, it still would be a hard hit and you would have to go through the process, which we will talk about fraud when it comes to your credit report. And like I said before, page 20 just mentions again, as far as what to look for on your credit report: spelling, history, the account, the amount owed, any type of negative items on your credit report. You want to make sure that everything is accurate. So if you have any doubts about anything that you do not believe is accurate, you have the ability to dispute, and we will continue to move forward as far as talking about disputes. But just any type of negative item, you just want to make sure that the information is yours, because it could be a mix-up of names if your name is misspelled. It could be a junior versus senior and someone's information being misplaced and put on your credit report. So you just want to make sure that you have the ability to check your credit report every year by all three bureaus, and that way it's just like checking your bank statement, and you just want to make sure that everything is accurate on your credit report. And then your right as a consumer, you just want to make sure that as far as your right as a consumer, you have the right to get a copy of your credit report. You have a right to get a copy of your score, dispute any type of inaccurate information. And when you just go through this process, you want to make sure that you just do it, and you have a 30-day time frame when it comes to making disputes on your credit report. Yes.
What is the effect of a soft pull, and does it impact your score?
That's in the chat. I'm just letting her know.
What's the effect of a soft pull, and does it affect your score? No, it does not affect your score. And what when a company pulls your credit report and does a soft pull, they basically give you the pre-approval, like to say you may be approved for this particular credit card. You may be a good candidate when we want your business. You could also have a soft pull when it comes to working with like Operation Hope, where we are able to do a soft pull and work with you when it comes to figuring out what you may need to do to improve your score. So when you do go out to buy your car or your home, we're able to get you to that particular credit score, and you have that information where you can make the best decision possible for you. And we're going to also talk about fair debt collection practices. Even though you may have negative items being reported to your credit report, you have the ability of the Fair Debt Collection Act. The collection companies should not harass you when it comes to collecting on the particular account. So they have to call you within a certain time frame, which is 8 a.m. and 9 o'clock p.m. your local time. If you request any type of documentation to be written versus them calling you, you have the ability to do that as well. Or if you say you do not want to be called, you can make that request to the credit bureau, to the collection company, and they will not call you. They will still report the information to the credit report, and they do have the ability to sell the information off if they're not able to get that information. We're going to also talk about settling an account. So if you checked your credit report, you see items on your credit report where you may not be able to pay the item in full. You do have the ability to call the collection agency and make an offer to settle the account. When you settle the account, you're settling it for less than the balance. So when you settle the account, you just want to be mindful. If you settle anything, let's say if the credit card or the line of credit collections item is $1,000 and they ended up writing off $600 and you only pay $400, that is great, but you may receive a 1099-C for the next year, so you may have to report that information as income on your next taxes. So just be mindful whenever you try to work out any type of settlement arrangements with your creditors. Just be mindful if it's a couple of creditors and you're settling where they're writing off $600, you may get that information back to you the following year as far as claiming that amount as income on your taxes.
We have a question. Joy, do you have any tips or suggestions for credit repair after bankruptcy?
After bankruptcy, I do have some information as far as credit repair, which we will be getting to. So I'm going to hold off a little bit, and we're going to talk about that in the near future in this segment. Okay, page 24 gives you a sample letter of a settlement as far as just either you could call the creditor themselves and try to work out and negotiate any type of settlement with them, or you could write a letter. My suggestion would be to call. Some of my clients that I've been working with, sometimes they don't feel comfortable with trying to make a settlement offer, but they are able to sit with me as well as call the creditor while I'm in the presence and give me permission to speak on their behalf. I have it on speakerphone, so that time we're able to negotiate the best arrangement for the client. If you feel comfortable, you're able to do the same. I did it after college, and I worked out settlement arrangements with the creditors that I was working with at the time, and whenever you settle on an account, they will report it as settled as agreed or settled in full. So for me, I think it's great to settle an account because that's one less thing off of your credit report, and you're able to move to the next item, and that way your credit score is building based on just getting negative items being taken care of on your credit report.
So Joy, in other words, by settling at a lesser amount of money, it will not decrease your credit report. It will only improve it.
Once you settle an account, your credit has already been hit negatively by the collection item that has already been reported to your creditor. So at that time, any type of improvement as far as taking care of the item will improve your credit score. And like I said, we'll talk about rebuilding and how you can continue to rebuild from that point on. But just taking care of certain items on your credit report will not affect your credit score negatively. It will reflect it positively because those items have been taken care of, showing paid as agreed or paid in full. Okay, and so page 25, we're going to talk about disputing items on your credit report. You are able to dispute any items on your credit report, any type of inaccurate information, and you would have to dispute them with all three credit bureaus. So if you see that your name is incorrect on Equifax, you would dispute it just with Equifax if everything is correct on Experian and TransUnion. Let's say if you have a negative item is reporting negatively to Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian based on a collection item that you paid off and they have not reported it to the credit report saying that it's been paid as agreed or paid in full, you definitely want to dispute that. and you want to write to all 3 credit reports. So you want to make sure that you have, and you also are able to, whenever you go to annualcreditreport.com, they have the ability to also submit disputes when it comes to these items being reported to your credit report. We also have a sample letter of the dispute that you can utilize if you see any type of negative items being reported to your credit report. And just make sure that you provide all the information possible, copy of your driver's license, utility bill, social security card. You just want to make sure that you give them all the information that they need in order to take care of the situation versus them sending you information either saying we need more information or no, this item is yours. So then you may have to put in another dispute providing information. You want to just provide them with the most information possible so after that 30-day time frame, you can get that information removed off your credit report.
Do creditors view less than minimum payments negatively?
No. Creditors do not view less than minimum payments negatively based on, like I said, it's already been placed negatively on your credit report, so it's not 2 dings on your credit report based because you did not pay it in full. Once it hits your credit report, that's the negative impact on your credit report. So at that time, you just want to either pay it off in full or settle the account. If that's whatever you're able to do at the time. If you're able to pay it off in full, that's great. But either way, it's been negatively marked on your credit report. So no, it will not affect you negatively by paying less than the full balance.
So what about if it's not creditors, but it's just a credit card? And there's a minimum payment and you pay less than that, but you still make a monthly payment?
Well, that's different.
I know. Yeah.
That is different. If you have a credit card, an open line of credit, and your minimum payment is $25, and let's say this month you only have $15 to pay on the credit card, yes, that will negatively affect your credit report because you're not paying the balance in full. That kind of goes back to the fees when we talked about the fees on page 7. Underpayment will affect, it was at the very bottom, underpayment will affect your credit report because you're not paying at least the minimum amount that's due. Great question. So,
You're doing great.
one of the things that we were just asked as far as rebuilding your credit score. I think the question had to, as far as rebuilding after a bankruptcy. I'm just going to kind of talk about it in full, and then this should also help no matter what type of negative item hit your credit report. As far as a secured card. A secured card is a good way, a secure card is when you go into a bank and say, I would like to apply for a credit card, and they will either approve you or they might give you the option to say, well, we'll approve you based on you putting up $300 and utilizing the credit card just like a regular credit card. But with you securing the amount on the credit card will also rebuild your credit. Normally a secure credit card, you could use it 9 months to a year depending on what type of credit card it was. And with that information, you paying the payments on time every month, they will release the funds and of the $300 that you put on there, and they'll unsecure the balance at that time. That is a great way to reestablish your credit when it comes to just trying to rebuild. Another great way to reestablish your credit is becoming a secondary or authorized user on a person's credit card that has good payment history. So, and just even, they say no credit is bad credit. So if you don't have any type of credit at all, they deem that to be bad. So either getting a secured card is a great option, or like I said, just being added as an authorized user. Now you want to make sure that you are an authorized user on someone's account that you trust, that continues to make their payments on time. One thing that I've recently done I have a 17-year-old. So like I said, credit affects your car insurance and different items like that. So what I did was I added my son as an authorized user on my credit card. However, he does not have a card to utilize, but it will start building his credit and getting him established in order for him to have some type of credit once he is of age and he's able to use credit in a positive manner. Another way a person is able to reestablish their credit is getting a department store card. Now, you would say, why, Joy, why are you talking about getting a department store card? They have high interest rates. Yes, they have very high interest rates. However, if you're not able to get a secured card or become an authorized user, sometimes getting a department store card, let's say Best Buy, or it has a higher interest rate, but if you use the information that I told you early on as far as making payments on time, staying below that 30%, that will get you established or rebuild your credit report based on that store card, and then you'll be able to provide or possibly get another type of card once they see that you've been making on-time payments every month with that department store card. But you just want to be mindful, do not use that card unless you have the money in the bank where you can automatically make that payment. That's the best thing to do whenever you use that department store card. You don't have to use it every month. You could just use it once every 3 months or maybe once every 6 months, but just getting the card and establishing good payment history makes a difference as far as being a good candidate for possibly getting another type of card later on. Credit opportunities. Yes.
So good credit payment can be established by paying off the full amount on that credit card, or also paying off the minimum
amount.
Either one will still reestablish.
Yes. Any type of, I would say the rule of thumb is if you're able to pay that credit card in full every month, go ahead and do that, because you're saving yourself money. You're saving yourself the interest fees when it comes to paying that credit card. However, if you're not able to pay that credit card, once again, it goes into budgeting. You want to make sure that you budget a certain amount to spend, and because you're going to have to make the minimum amount on that payment as far as when on that card. So just be mindful. If you go out and spend, like I said, $50 on some type of department store card, the best rule of thumb is already have that $50 budgeted to pay off that card in full. Credit opportunities. Sometimes people are not able to even get approved for any type of credit card. So I have a friend who is in real estate. She met a young lady, and this young lady didn't have any type of credit at all. So what she advised her client to do was go to, I think it was like Khan's appliance store, and buy like a small speaker, $15 a month. She was able to do that, making her payments every month. And based on her credit opportunities with that store, she was able to get the credit score to get approved for the house that she needed after 6 months of making on-time payments. So like I said, no credit is bad credit, so just getting established in some way, shape, form, or fashion when it comes to any type of credit opportunities that you have, you want to make sure that if you take advantage of those opportunities, because some of them may have high interest rates, you want to make sure that you budget for it. You want to make sure that you make your payments on time every month. And that way, it will get you established and you will be able to get a credit score to, 600, 700s, as long as you make your own time payments. Keeping a certain balance below the 30% is very important. Those are the two main things, and that you're not keep applying for a lot of new credit makes the difference. Yes.
Could you talk about credit cards that are offered with no interest for a certain amount of months?
Credit cards that are offered with no interest for, let's say,
6 months.
6 months. So you want to ask all the questions, but at the end of that 6 months, you want to know what's that credit, that interest rate going to be at the end of the 6 months. Because if you're not able to calculate that within your payments, because life happens, something could happen as far as you couldn't finish out that payment, or I know like Rooms To Go and Best Buy normally has offers like that based on their credit card. You want to know, okay, does it go from 0% to 24%? Because if you don't pay it within 6 months, sometimes a creditor may take it all the way back to the first of that month, where you owe the money for the 6 months that you thought was 0%, but it's actually now 24% because you weren't able to pay it on time. So be mindful of what is the end of the, what is the interest rate of that particular card once the 6 months is over with. Great question.
Minimum also doesn't cover that. On those retroactive interest payments.
Okay.
The minimum payment on your card won't pay off the thing within the term.
You have another question?
If you have the no interest for 12 months, the interest accumulates, and at the end of 12 months, if it's not paid off, it retroactively kicks all that interest back.
Right.
The minimum payment on the card won't pay that.
No.
They try to get you.
Yeah.
That's the trick.
Yes. So you just want to make sure that you budget for what you can afford. If you cannot afford furniture for $1,200 for 6 months or a year, you want to make sure that you make arrangements that you either can make those payments on time, or you may have to wait and put money in your savings account until you're able to pay that amount outright. Let's see here. Any more questions?
Not right now.
Okay. Other tips as far as, like I expressed, no credit is bad credit. If you have any type of public record item, let me go back. Your items also can fall off after the 7 years or the 10-year time frame. Sometimes if you have a credit card, and what I do with my clients is start them paying the smallest amount first, and that way it builds a person's confidence whenever it comes to them making the payments on their credit cards. But certain items can fall off after 7 years. I'm sorry, not 7 months. I don't know if I said that, but 7 years. So you may have several things on your credit report, but you may have an item that's about to fall off, and if you need to take care of some of the smaller items first, I would say take care of those items first, and then see about, if something is about to fall off of your credit report, it might be just a good idea to wait and take care of the most recent things first. When it comes to your credit, it's definitely different ways to rebuild. Life, I always say life happens, because life does happen. Unemployment happens, sickness happens, and you just want to build your savings account for life situations so you don't have to resort back to using a credit card. But if you happen to use a credit card, just put it in your budget. Continue to make your payments on time every month. Try to keep it below the 30%. I wouldn't say try. I would say keep it below the 30%. And that way you will come out with the best outcome when it comes to your credit report. Yes.
So what would be your recommendation when thinking about kind of establishing a savings for a rainy day or for that obstacle that happens,
Right.
and making your minimum payment, but you know you have more to pay on a credit card? So
Right.
what would you recommend? Paying more than on the credit card to pay it down, or making the minimum payment as well as kind of putting money into savings?
I would definitely say put money into savings, establish an emergency savings. If you could establish $1,000, that would be great. If you're able to do $500, but you have to look at your spending habits. This is going back to the budgeting. Looking at your spending habits is very important because there might be items on your flexible spending where you're able to cut those funds and then be able to apply more to your debt, or apply more in when it comes to your savings. But I definitely would say put money away for your savings account, and work if it's already been applied to your credit report as a negative item. Then I would say just either try to settle with that company or I would say try to settle with the company so you can continue to have money in your savings account, because once you pay or settle on the account, that's one less thing, and like I said, it continues to build your confidence, and it builds your confidence also by having extra money in your savings account for that tire that may blow out, or that unexpected hospital bill, because when you go to the hospital you get 3 different bills from doctor, the hospital, and somebody else. So you just want to make sure that you are aware of those unexpected things that may happen, and you don't want to be able to just resort back to that credit card if you are able to still use that open line of credit, or if it's already been posted to your credit report. I would say just work with Operation Hope, and we will be able to look at your situation, your personal situation, and figure out the best method for you, because it's hard to discuss a what-if situation when we really want to sit down with you, explain everything to you, and work with your situation based on your needs. And page 31 just goes back to show, to say that you are able to get a copy of your credit report by all 3 credit bureaus. So you want to definitely take advantage of that. If you haven't seen a copy of your credit report, I would say either reach out to Operation Hope, Joy Jefferson. I could give you my contact information, which I would do that right now. You can contact me at 919-576-9117 or joy.jefferson@operationhope.org, and I will be able to assist with that. But if you want to just have the information, and I request this from my clients too, because like I said, all 3 credit bureaus pool different information. So we're able to pool the TransUnion credit report, which normally has a lot of the information reporting from all 3 credit bureaus. However, like I said, there's some situations where we're not able to see what's on Equifax. So I do request, my clients to pull from the annualcreditreport.com. They will not give you the score on your credit report, where Operation Hope, we have the ability to give you your score. But definitely take advantage of getting the information. Going to Credit Karma, like I said, that's good for the information. The score may vary based on being the Advantage score versus the FICO 8, but it's very good for to let you know where you stand when it comes to what's on your credit report. and that way you have that information.
Joy, say your phone number again, please.
My phone number is 919-576-9117. Also, identity theft. Identity theft, as it happens, quite often. So you just want to make sure that you protect yourself. I said this in the budgeting class as well. You want to make sure you protect yourself by shredding your credit card statements. If you do get a copy of your credit report and you are able to work on your credit report and you no longer need that document, I would say, shred that information. There's a couple of places that may offer shred days, and so you might want to Google a shred day in your area if you don't have a personal shredder. But definitely make sure if there's a credit card that you're not using, you make sure that you cut that credit card up into small pieces. Sometimes I will throw some pieces in the trash can 1 week and then throw some in the trash a couple weeks later. That way I know no one can get that information. Any type of documents that I have a small bin near my trash can where I just throw all my important documents that I no longer need. So therefore, when it comes to your personal information. One thing I didn't touch that I just thought about, student loans. Student loans is the biggest thing that a lot of my clients have issues as far as repaying their student loans. Either student loans may have went into default, or they may have fell behind when it comes to student loans. Student loans do report to your credit report. Student loans you cannot claim on bankruptcy. Student loans can garnish your wages, can take your taxes. So you want to make sure if you're not able to pay a student loan amount, you want to communicate that with that particular company. If you happen to fall behind, there are options where you could call certain companies where they are able to put you in a certain type of rehabilitation program after making on-time payments for a certain amount of months. They can bring you back current. Also, a lot of student loans can be based off your income. So you just want to make sure when it comes to any type of student loans that you are very mindful of what a student loan can do for your credit report, how it can affect your credit report, how it can affect your life when it comes to, like I said, garnishing your wages and taking your tax money if you were able to get any tax refunds, and how the negative impact that it may have on a person's credit report. Is very important to know that information because you're going to have to pay your student loans. Like I said, being young, and I share with a lot of young people go out here and see, oh, I could get a big refund check from school, not thinking later on in life that I'm going to have to pay this money back. And so they just go out and splurge this money, but it will come back to kind of bite them because they are going to have to pay this money back to the company. So you just want to make sure that you explain to any young person to be really conscious about do they really need the student loan? If they do, try to see if there's any type of way a person may be able to start making payments while they're in school, if they're not able to do so. Just know the effects of how a student loan could affect their credit report, and that will be under the installment debt as far as personal loans, student loans, auto loans. So I can't stress that because that is the biggest thing a lot of my clients deal with when it comes to making that student loan payment or just dealing with student loans. And don't be afraid to face to see what's on your credit report. It's very important. If you do not face to your fear basically of knowing what's on your credit report, there's no way for you to start the process to fix it. So if there's any questions, I will take them at this time.
Would you repeat, we put the telephone number up, but would you repeat your telephone number again?
Okay, my telephone number, I'm Joy Jefferson with Operation Hope. My telephone number is 919-576-9117.
And would you mention or talk about the support that you can provide somebody free if they contact you?
Okay. The support that Operation Hope could provide for a one-on-one counseling session would be, we would check your credit report. We would explain line by line and come up with a work plan to fit your needs when it comes to your budgeting. We want to make sure that you're on a budget. We might, tell you to, try to cut this cost in order to save money, meal prep in order to get your grocery bill down. And we'll basically walk with you and get you a step-by-step program free of charge. In order for you to see improvements on your credit report. Our ultimate goal with Operation Hope is to eliminate debt, increase your credit score, and increase your savings, because with those three things could make a life change when it comes to your interest rate that you pay on a house. If you have a 700 credit score, your interest rate will definitely be lower than someone who had like a 520. Not saying the 520, it may be hard for them to get certain type of loans, but the interest rate might be high where it's going to stop you from establishing that savings account, or it may put you in a situation where it's hard for you to make the payments on your car payment. So we want to make sure that we work with you. Also, we check in with you every 30 days through email. We call you on the phone, or a face-to-face meeting with you. And we want to make sure that you're working the plan. How are things going? And that way we know if you're working the plan. That's our ultimate thing. We need to know if you're working the plan, because a lot of people may come to us and say, Joy, yes, I'm ready to figure things out and work on my credit score. And I realize that life happens. So if a certain time you're not able to work that plan at that time, we understand that. We're going to keep encouraging you to work with us through those life situations. But I've had some clients who weren't able or weren't in the mindset to continue with the process. So our ultimate thing is for you to work the plan with Operation Hope, and we will continue to work with you to try to get you to the place that you want to purchase that house and the credit score you need to have to purchase that house.
That sounds great.
And I appreciate Chatham Literacy for allowing me to speak today and for last week as well as the week coming. I actually have my co-worker. She's going to be talking about small business next week. So come out, hear great information from her, and we will continue to partner with Chatham Literacy. So if there's anything that we could do as far as Operation Hope to help the community, we are able to do so. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, and want to talk to me, email me, call me. I will do my best to answer any questions that you may have. And I just enjoy and appreciate being invited here. And I will see you guys next week if there's no more questions.
Well, I have one more, Joy.
One more question.
If somebody cannot come to you in Siler City,
Okay.
but they want to do their budgeting with you and then have some of that follow-up,
Okay.
if they call you, are you willing to meet them? And I think about our Mom Cure site.
Okay. I've never been to Moncure yet, but I have went as far as Pittsboro. maybe there might be a meeting spot, maybe, half distance we'll be able to meet, but I am willing to travel. I travel a lot when it comes to meeting my clients. And normally that first initial consultation or meeting with my client, I usually like to meet face to face. That way, just that interaction, that first interaction, I can get a feel for them, and I just like meeting people face to face anyway. And then the following actions after that could be over the phone or through email. Also, after being with Operation Hope for 6 months, we do a 6-month snapshot, which is we pull your credit report, which is a soft pull. We pull your credit report again to see the changes that have happened from the time that you started the program to the time that to the 6-month time frame. You are able to be in the program for up to 2 years. Most times, it may not take 2 years based on a person's situation, but you are able to be on the program for up to 2 years.
Okay, let's see if we have any other questions.
Is thank you a question?
It says thank you.
I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Oh, good.
Can we refer family members or other people who are unable to attend
Absolutely. You can
this literacy course?
Yes,
They
absolutely.
can watch this video on Chatham Literacy's YouTube channel anytime after the stream is over.
Okay.
So this one and the last one are available online for their convenience anytime.
Okay. But if you do want to come and work with me, you are able to do so. You can come to my workshops, and that way, you just can be around and see my face.
That's right. Well, thank you so much, Joy. It's awesome. And I just want to say at each of the sites, a couple things. Don't forget you have an evaluation form. Please fill that out. We always want to make these better. And then we also, if you're new today, please complete a student application, and then we'll also get you, if your site has information for Joy, because there's also paperwork for that. So we thank you. Please come next week, because next week is going to be on business. How awesome is that?
That's great.
So we'll be here. We hope you will. That's next Thursday, the 23rd, I think.
Yes.
6 to 8. And again, there'll be food. So come hungry, and thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.